You're in it now, brother. You're not going nowhere.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
3 minutes, that's how long the metronome's going to go. And Chris has it set to 16 BPM, bro. Wait, no, it would have to be like 3 BPM to go 3 minutes. That's just simple math. I'm an idiot.
What did it cost?
Everything.
This is the Console Crusade podcast. This is I had a run of show ready to go, but things changed, and now we're going with the flow. I am EJ Olson with, as always, Chris Gilly 4.
I'm embarrassed, guys, but I'm not going to tell you why until Nick's here, because I'm sure he has a whole armada of roasts ready.
Brandon hasn't said anything yet after seeing you on cam, and we'll keep it that way. Brandon Gustavus, you're with us again.
What are you talking about? I am actually Nick Durheim. There's just 3 people here, so obviously it has to be Chris, Nick, and EJ.
Nick got swept up in an adventure, a journey, the garden supply store, and Lord knows if you've ever been to a garden supply store with somebody who wants to be there, well, you're in it until they're done. So we start without him. Let's just do Fantasy Critic. Fuck it. Let's do Fantasy Critic.
This can buy us some time. We could start with my stuff because I had some really bad weeks in a row.
How have things been going?
Well, yeah, I had a hell of a couple of weeks of Fantasy Critic, and when we recorded last, I was pretty hungover and really not wanting to be roasted. But I'm older now and wiser and more mature and able to take my medicine here. So I had, in the span of a week, 2 fish games come out and land like absolute wet farts. Harold Halibut dropped to the widest standard deviation of any game in our Fantasy Critic League this year. It was pulling everything from top critics, everything from 10s to, I think there's a 5 in there that's a top critic. Is there a 4? It is absolutely insane.
I think a standard deviation of like 14.5 points in top critic scores.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Like, it is wild. It is, I think, maybe one of the only games that has had so many extreme end scores that it has more scores far away from what ended up being the average.
A 4 out of 10.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Fucking crazy. So there are people that went, this is amazing, and praised the art direction, that everything was made from handmade models and then scanned before it was used digitally. So it gives this sense of everything feeling really handmade. And some people really fucked with the narrative, and some people did not at all and went, if we're not taken by this art style, like, we're just looking at, the game as it is a game, and really did not fuck with it. So that landed, I think that's at like, what, a 73 now?
Correct.
74. It's low. It's a lemon. And then in the same week, we had the release of The Rising Tide, which is the final Final Fantasy 16 DLC that I had high hopes for, given the fact that it was a full story expansion with a new icon, a bunch of rebalancing going on with all the existing iconic abilities. Actually, 2 sets of iconic abilities that it unlocks. Spoilers for Rising Tide. It's not just Leviathan. You also get an Ultima loadout, which is really cool. So I had really, really high hopes for this. And this game had its first couple things trickle in and was sitting at a 71. And I was feeling like my goose was pretty fucking cooked. And in a moment of desperation, did something that I never do, which is read the reviews that these games are receiving, and found something very odd in pressstart.au. It's on Australian Outlet's website, which is to say an incredibly effusive series of praise for this expansion, and no score listed on their website, but OpenCritic had it at a 6 out of 10. It was dragging the review average down. I emailed Press Start. I emailed OpenCritic. I said, hey, this might not be a mistake, but it might. Y'all seem to really like this game, and it's sitting at a 6 out of 10 on OpenCritic. Not really sure what's going on, and I don't hear anything. We start getting more reviews coming in, and this score is just fucking ping-ponging all over the place. It went up to like a 75. It went down to a 73. It went up again to a 74. The Press Start review EJ tweets at them. God bless EJ, tweets at them and says, hey, this seems like a mistake. And EJ's like, in the interest of sportsmanship, if I'm going to beat you, I will beat you fair and square. Seems like there shouldn't be a number on that review. And they said, yep, it's an unscored review. We told them. I don't know why it's still on there.
I eventually had to find the author's personal email and reach out to him via email because our tweets went unanswered, your emails went unanswered to the actual website. Open Critic said nothing about it, despite it clearly being a mistake of some kind.
Wow.
So I found this guy, got his personal email, hit him up, and he got back to me within 10 minutes. And he was like, we're well aware of the issue. We have submitted this. And of course, his stress is PlayStation gave us this code, and we reviewed it positively, and now it's getting bad press when we didn't mean for that to happen. So then they'd submitted a ticket with Open Critic to fix it, right? So it goes up to an 80 at one point, and then it drops back down after a couple of, it gets like 2 9s and an 8, it drops back down a little bit. And then they change Press Start's score from a 6 to an 8. So it goes up again.
Buckle Up Bitches was in full swing. The newest deep lore in Console Crusade. Buckle Up Bitches. This thing went all over the place, and it finally settled out at a respectable but nonetheless very disappointing 78. So I had a couple DOA games. Man, if that had stayed down at a 71, I would have stayed engaged because I love you all and I will not quit, but it would have been pretty hard.
First of all, I have to give Brendan some flowers, who has had a couple of zingers in the Fantasy Critics server regarding Harold Halibut.
Yep.
First of all, he had been pretty adamant that game was going to suck despite... He told me about Harold Halibut. He told me to put that on my watch list before he was even in this league. That was years ago. So he's been looking forward to this game. And he was like, listen, I'm excited to play it, but that game is going to be a 75. He nailed it. As far as Rising Tide, Chris, come on. You were like, it's going to be this year's Xenoblade Chronicles. And then he texted me this huge bullet list of all these reasons. Like, this is going to hit. This is going to be Hall of Fame.
I just enjoy that I was trying to get off that thing, and it's all like, Chris is over there in the background like, I'm stealing a banger from Brandon. He doesn't know he's going to get stuck with trash.
Somehow.
And I'm just like, I just know this is not going to do good. Like, at first I was like, yeah, this is going to be a banger. And then I'm just like, I need to get off this thing. And then Chris is like, I've got you. Well, Chris, I got you. But then you got me.
A trade that we all agreed, Brandon, you lost. He got played. He was a mark. Chris, you worked him fucking over. Somehow comes out on top by the skin of his teeth yet again. Just dumb, blind, sheer beginner's luck here. How did he win this trade? Everything that's happened this year is just like, if you had to put money on the least likely outcome.
Not everything.
Almost everything. You called your shot on Berserk Boy. Anyway, I can't believe, and Brandon, you were at my house when all this was going down, and you're sitting on the couch next to me, and I was gobsmacked. I was like, I cannot believe after all the dick twisting we got into last week over the Earthblade thing when Earthblade got delayed, and I was like, you lost that fucking trade. You were always going to lose that trade because Earthblade wasn't coming out. And then I was like, you traded a banger to Chris, and then it drops to an absolute turd. Who fucking would have thought?
I had just arrived at my house to grab my stuff to head to your place, and I saw this voice message, and you just going off like, Brandon, how in the world? It's all like you're dealing, you're like the lucky guy, you know, their dealers just dealing you, and you're getting 17s and 18s, and everybody's just telling you to hold. And you're just asking for another card, and you're getting 21s, and the dealer's busting.
Brandon has hit on every 17 he has seen this year, and somehow hit blackjack every single time. It is completely improbable.
It's crazy. And now I'm sitting here, you know, if ever there were a lose-lose trade in this league, if ever it were possible for that to happen, I think we just discovered the blueprint, because if Mana, the other part of this trade, lands below an 80, then we both lost. Because, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, you got free slots, but, I mean, you got nothing out of it.
I got $6 that I just wasted this last weekend.
That's true. So that was a bad week. Adding to my bad week, and this could segue us over to the result of our first side bet, which, Brandon, I'm looking forward to getting that cash.
Hey, you might want to wait, because if I remember, you will also owe me $20 when it is proven the Switch 2 will not be out.
That's
until
true.
Next year.
But I don't owe you that money. I don't owe you that money until we see a release date or January 1st, 2025 hits. But I will
Chris
take
be desperate for that cash.
I will take my $10 now. I need a win. I need a win, goddammit. Because the same week that this all happens, I talked myself into thinking Ayuden Chronicles is going to be good. We tried to do the fake trade to like offload that CP to Brennan. Thank God he didn't let me do that, because then I would have been stuck with Berserk Boy and I'd still be sitting at negative fucking points right now.
Oh, we haven't updated that we did in fact decide to dish out one super drop only to be used on unreleased counter picks.
Yes, and I promptly used it to get off of Ayuden because everybody was like, yeah, I have that game like an 83. Yeah, I always thought that was a bad CP. It was looking like it was going to be good. A lot of positive things being said around the subreddit of people who had backed it. So I immediately super drop Ayuden Chronicles because part of our decision to add the super drop was it needed to be used on only counterpick games that haven't released, only counterpicks that have not released. And you need to give yourself between a week and 2 weeks prior to the release of that game so that if the person who formerly had it locked on their board wanted to drop it, they could. So I had to do it immediately if I wanted to get off Ayuden, so I did. That game also lands like a wet fart and is sitting at a 76. So in the same week that I had 2 wet farts of my own land, I get off of what would have been a fucking fantastic counterpick. And now I've got a slot I've got to fucking fill. And I've been slowly whittling away games that I'm pretty sure that y'all are going to drop. I got EJ to, as Nick put it, we finally got Metro and its wretched ass out of our league. This week, I tried to move on Mariachi Legends, and then Brandon had some shenanigan ideas that fucked the whole thing that I was playing with. Although Nick dropped Europa without it being on the counterpick board, so I think he also saw that game was going to fucking suck.
Wait, he dropped Europa?
He dropped Europa.
I didn't see that.
That was one that I was thinking about putting on my nice extensive list, and that's kind of like, which it seems I didn't need to.
1 week at a time, I was going to force somebody to make a choice. I thought about doing a shotgun, but then in my head, I always wanted to end up with Europa because after the demo came out, it looks fucking awful. It looks horrible. That thing, that the little showcase video they dropped, I went, oh my God, this game's going to be terrible. Game Awards ass game. So
yeah, your plan, it sounded obnoxious, and so I just wanted to end it. I'm sorry, Chris.
You would know if something's going to be obnoxious. I will give you that.
Brandon shotguns basically 6 games, a Ranger, and then a bunch of Knicks games.
Did I do Lorelei?
I'm really glad they were fake because Lorelai's gonna be really, really,
it's gonna
really
be a
good.
banger. So listen, Brandon, we had talked when you were down here. I was like, just shotgun blast, scare a bunch of people into some drops, wasting some cash because they don't want to commit to it, and then just drop your super drop at like $4.59 on Saturday, so people don't even know who's bidding on these, right? So, of course, the game I think that you wanted to go for ended up getting dropped anyway, but you came in hot with this and then completely forgot to super drop your cutter pick.
Yup.
You've got to be fucking kidding me.
Nope, he's serious, Chris. I was busy all day cleaning, and then I had dinner plans, and I just completely spaced on it when I was cleaning it between dinner plans and cleaning.
What would you have ended up with based on your order of priority?
Demon School.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been a fucking good counter.
I mean,
pick.
it's still there, so I mean, if Nick really wants it, I'm probably gonna go. So
didn't
Nick
drop
knows
it.
I'm going for it again.
There you go. And he's not here yet, so he doesn't know that, and we'll keep that a secret between us. Brandon, back to the side bet. You and Chris had a side bet over Ayuden. Our side bet being that Grand Blue is going to be better than Ayuden, and mandate of choice was on the table.
Yep. And so you still get to pick your date, and I will treat you so nice.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. And if I had been the one paying, I would be looking forward to it just as much. But I got to say, I'm shocked because I had, and this is embarrassing to say, but based on the trailers, based on the names attached, based on some, previously and recently released games, I had predicted an 87 on Grand Blue and an 85 on Ayuden. Pretty bullish. Pretty bullish.
Christ.
Pretty bullish. I thought they were going to be close. Grand Blue looked better than Ayuden. It did. And again, Grand Blue being like the second highest standard deviation in top critic reviews.
Uh-huh.
Really beloved by the people who knew what they were getting into. Not quite as much by the casual reviewers who got codes for this game. And then the thing got like 100 reviews. Like it was very widely
Yeah, I think
distributed.
it was like 96.
So I did not expect Ayuden to flop the way it did. And I think a lot of it's probably 3 points lower than it should be. Still worse than Grand Blue, but performance on Switch, which is the platform I think a lot of reviewers are playing it on.
Switch score just absolutely killed it.
Yeah. So unlucky. Glad to have a W.
Well, so as somebody who is playing it and is still playing it, it's all like, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of these reviews and they kind of ring true. Like these things don't really bug me and don't make me like the game. I like the game a lot and I'm probably going to play it all the way to the end. But it's like the big things that I noticed in reviews was it was Suikoden 1, Suikoden 2 again. That's all it was. Didn't do anything extra, didn't do anything new. And so people were just like, cool, Suikoden. And then, which is fair, like, they're like, yeah, we're super happy to have another game, but at the same time, nothing new. Then another one was localization, and the localization is so bad. It is like, we're talking like
Yeah.
Beyblade and Bakugan and Yu-Gi-Oh! Levels of localization. They're like trying to insult each other, calling each other fart heads and tooth lickers, and it's all like
Tooth lickers.
It's like, what? What even is this? And then the other one I saw is too many mini games, which is funny because about 90% of the mini games were all like backer earned things. They're like, oh, if we hit this price point, you know, we will add in this mini game. If we hit this price point. And then one thing I remember, which is kind of interesting. So there's like 130 characters to collect in this game. When the Kickstarter was going on, it was going to be 103 characters. So that means about 27 characters are all attached to these mini games that you need every single character to get the true ending of the game. And so people are just pissed that they have to beat these mini games to get characters, which is totally fair. Like these are fair criticisms. I don't care because there's some of them that I really enjoy because there's like a Beyblade one and I'm loving that. And it's so cool. But like,
It's pretty cute.
I get it. I understand the score. The score makes sense to me. For me, those things don't bug me as much. And so for me personally, it's higher. But like, I think having played the game, it is a very reasonable score for what we got.
Respectfully, and we can figure this out whether we do this episode or next episode or whatever. We're going to do a top 10 games from our friend Brandon here. I think if we take the average score of all the anime games and the Weeboo games that end up on that list, it might average at a 76. So this is right in your wheelhouse, brother.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Brandon, instead of cash, you skip me like a sixer of Widmer Hef when we get all settled in Dundee. We'll call it square.
Hey, I'll buy you a triple glizzy, just like I was gonna get EJ wanted a triple glizzy, and I was like, nah, baby boy, you deserve a much better dessert.
Well, now that I can't exercise for a month, I probably should limit my glizz intake.
That was our Fantasy Critic update. Nick, you're back with us. So Chris can tell us about his no good, very bad week, 2 weeks, his diagnosis.
Dear God, it's me, Chris Gilly4.
Well, I want to start this by saying I beat Dark Souls yesterday,
Golf clap,
which is a game that I never thought I would be capable of beating or have interest in beating. It is definitely the hardest game I have ever played, except maybe Cuphead, which I think is a pretty fair comp in terms of pattern learning, getting your one good run, executing, having all your systems on point.
And what did it cost, Chris?
Well, I beat Dark Souls, and all I got was this stupid broken hand. The first bone I've ever broken. 2 weeks ago. Let me set the scene for you. I'm in Anne Orlando for the first time, and I have figured out what to do with the archers after, some consternation. And I am working on a corpse run and taking out some of those sentinels, big old dudes with their big old shields and big old weapons. And I had figured out that I could just like nutmeg them, like roll right between their legs when they prep their attacks and get behind and like take them out pretty quickly, whatever. But they still hit like a truck because it's Dark Souls. Every trash mob in Dark Souls can and will kill you. I took a dumb death, being way too aggressive and not cognizant of their attack patterns, trying to just face tank I think is how I would put it. Not that I like being aggressive is bad in Souls games. It's good. You need to know when it's time to be aggressive because you don't want to prolong a fight. I took a really dumb death, a really, really, really dumb, stupid death I shouldn't have taken. And in a moment of intense frustration, I indulged an impulse that I have not indulged in many years. I balled my hand up into a fist and I brought it down into the arm of my couch. That didn't feel great. And it bruised up. And it was bruised for about a day and a half. And then I didn't really feel anything after that. I wasn't experiencing any pain or any limitations in my mobility in my hand. But in very extreme points of rotation in certain directions, I could feel a little something on the side of my hand, about 3/4 of the way down towards the wrist. And if I pressed on the top knuckle, the bottom knuckle, of my pinky finger, I could feel some small pain and discomfort. But I didn't really think anything of it. I'm getting ready to go up to Alaska again. I'm going to be doing crazy Alaska shit. I'm going to be rock climbing. I'm going to be hiking. I'm going to be backpacking. And I thought, just in case, I should probably make sure this isn't anything. So I go into the doctor on Friday. And she takes a look at my hand and she's like, you're not feeling any pain. And she's doing press tests and mobility tests and stuff. And I'm feeling nothing. I'm having to like really press to feel anything myself. She's like, well, it's probably a bone bruise, but just in case, because you're going to be doing a lot of physical activity this summer, let's get you an x-ray just in case. And I should have the results today. I'll call you. So Doc calls me not a half an hour after I leave the clinic with the x-ray and says, so you have a very small non-displaced fracture in your hand. It will not require surgery, but we are going to have to put you in a splint for at least 4 weeks and have you back to see how everything is. So the first bone I break in my entire life, and this is after like 3 summers of literally doing occasionally some very hinky shit in the wilderness in Alaska, being on top of rocks, like 12-foot boulders, trying to top out with crash pads and a human and a prayer underneath me to keep me from getting injured if I fall, having some like fairly scary falls off of boulders, but being like caught safely and pushed onto the pad safely. That's not it. That's not what breaks a bone for the first time in my life. It's not that. It's not being on a 12-foot rock. It's Dark Souls rage.
Skill issue. Oh,
Get his ass!
I tell Josh and Joey, who are both Souls players, and Joey immediately, like no fucking hesitation, I'm laying out the whole story, just shoulda rolled.
Shoulda rolled.
I tell my buddy Zach, and he says, sounds like you're in fat rolls, brother. Got to get that equip load down.
Yeah, man, you got hard parried by the couch with punish.
Hard parried by the couch. I overcommitted on that attack and just got immediately punished.
Glass cannon there, Chris.
So I feel like a fucking idiot and was just spent all day Friday getting more and more angry with myself in the afternoon into the evening. I've never had to wear anything like this. Obviously, I've never broken a bone. No major injury history. Thank God I had most of my work for the semester done already so that I could just like slide it off for a couple hours, knock out the rest of my grading, do some light editing on some of my own projects and some stuff that some other folks wanted me to have eyes on. But man, this is so dumb. I can't hold the controller. I beat Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, with this on yesterday, so I can play games. Which is great because if that had been impacted, it would have been like truly depressing. But I can't lift, I can't climb, so I'm gonna have to like rethink my exercise for the next 3 to 4 weeks. I'll go in and get another X-ray before I go up to Alaska. We'll see how I'm doing, how much longer I have to do this.
You'll be
I've got the equivalent of the cone of shame on you right now.
I do, and I feel that way. I have intense empathy for my cats because the first night I was trying to sleep and I'm just like. Just messing with this thing, and I'm just like, it feels wrong. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and my breath starts like catching and starts coming more quickly. And I'm like, oh, I'm cutting up my circulation. Oh, I'm gonna hurt my hand. It's gonna hurt my hand. I can feel it. My circulation is just going numb. My hand's going numb. Like, So I have to like get out of bed, go in the bathroom, take it off, look at my hand, and go, oh, this is just a hand. It's fine. It's not blue or purple or anything that would indicate the circulation's being cut off. Just calm the fuck down. Go back to sleep.
Have phantom limb nightmares.
I feel for you, brother. Being in a cast of any kind or a splint. Remind me next week when we're together to tell you how I sustained the first of 3 major ankle sprains. You'll love that story. I was living with Nick when it happened.
That's a great story. You're going to love it. Yeah, that's truly You'll feel a lot better about how you hurt yourself.
Yeah, and talk about feeling like a fucking dumbass when you just keep replaying the moment and you ask yourself, why? Anyway. Chris, that's a bummer. It's hilarious that it happened during Dark Souls. I'm so fucking glad Nick said it. Skill issue. That's spectacular.
No better game to sustain an injury for, though. TBH.
Amen.
Yeah.
Fellas, let's jump into some quick news, some video game news. We don't do this very often, but it's been a week. Let's start with the limited run stuff, all right? This last week, a Twitter user by the name of Todd's Nerd Cave realized by putting a disc from a 3DO game he had purchased from Limited Run into his PC and finding out that it was a CDR, which is a more modern disc format that is not compatible often with older technology. And so these 3DO games that Limited Run had produced were pressed to CDR, or they were burned to CDR. I don't know what the proper nomenclature would be, rather than a quote-unquote pressed and like properly mastered disc. And they won't work on real hardware. So this comes out on Twitter, and it's trending with like 6-figure tweets, which is, to me, when I see that, like if you're approaching 6-figure tweets on trending, like people are talking about it. And so for Limited Run to be getting this kind of attention was shocking to me. So people are pissed about this. Limited Run doesn't say anything for several days. It's like a 3DO collection. It's like like a $60 physical release or whatever. And Limited Run is already kind of, for a lot of reasons, and I've bitched about them over the years, kind of has a negative reputation for first, a lot of their early, literally limited runs they would do and their order issues. And now they do pre-orders for everything, which is great to me. Anyone who wants it will get one. But they do pre-orders before production begins, which means sometimes you're waiting 10 months, 12 months, 18 months, 3 years in the case of the KOTOR Master Edition for production to finish. And so that's another gripe people have. So anyway, this is just, like you said, Nick, another notch on their belt. But people are mad. And I want to talk about this before I dive into the response from Limited Run, because it took them a few days. And so people were kind of running wild with this online. And I at first I thought, this can't be, like, surely the way this is being framed is disingenuous. When they say CDRs, people were posting pictures of like literal like CDRs with like the lines.
Burnt CDs and Sharpie.
Exactly. And I'm like, this literally can't be the case. It can't be. And I was skeptical from the beginning. But people were losing their minds about it. So I was already, and again, I hate to side with a company like Limited Run, but I was already in my mind giving them the benefit of the doubt, especially, having done CDs. If you can go through a legitimate large manufacturing company, and this is an option for you to do it, and it costs less, and there are different reasons to want to press to a CDR versus the alternative. I was like, okay, this just has to be like wires crossed. This cannot be like, the way it's being framed is completely ridiculous. And people just looking for a reason to shit on a company, and a company worth shitting on. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. And people like to fly off the handle. Yeah, like you said, they'll jump to the wrong conclusions. It's like the Occam's razor of being mad. Instead of the simplest solution is the answer, it's the one that makes you the angriest is the answer.
It's the one that circulates the most drama, because drama is entertainment. And man, our attention spans are so short. We got to be entertained 24/7. I need it when I sleep.
This is decades of the modern news cycle infiltrating our psyche and then being amplified by social media. And now this has just become how we react to everything. The problem being, so when a company like Limited Run comes out and says like, okay, we realize there's an issue. Here's how it happened. Here's how we're going to fix it. And people are just like so ready to say, fuck you. And again, there are a lot of these companies that do limited release games. They work with, all manner of publishers and developers, but they're pressing a lot of really small stuff that would never get the love that I think it deserves. And so these companies have a great place in the market right now, and I think are only going to become more important as actual publishers quit making physical copies of their games. And I know we've talked about that. Eventually these companies will just sell cardboard boxes full of tchotchkes, and then their usefulness will have completely dissipated. But I think they're serving a really important function in our current ecosystem They release a statement. They say, we've been made aware of the issues of D, the collector's edition on original 3DO hardware. They apologize right off the gate. They're like, this is obviously a complete mistake. This is not what we intended. We messed up. But they go on to explain how they went to the largest disc replication provider in North America to press these discs. Like, this was not them ordering blank CDRs and running them through a 20 disc fucking replicator in the basement of Limited Run, you know? This was a legitimate replicator that they worked with to ensure full compatibility. And I guess that was kind of a process. And then they confirmed that we tested these on 3 different 3DO systems in our office to confirm that they work on original hardware. And basically saying, this was not a cost-cutting measure. This was how it kind of had to happen to produce the volume that we're trying to produce. And we thought it was all, it worked. And it wasn't until the disc got out into the wild and on different iterations and versions of the console that they realized, oh shit, there are some issues here. So they basically said, we're no longer selling this title until we fix this, and they're offering full refunds. Great. This is how they should handle a controversy like this.
That's great. Literally, what else could you ask for?
They handled it perfectly. People are still not happy online. People are, and the thing that pisses me off is every time you see a response like, I waited 12 months to get my copy of whatever game. And I'm like, yeah, dumbass, did you fucking read the disclaimer when you pre-order from them? You understand how this works now? Maybe this is just because I buy a lot of vinyl records and that market is completely fucked and has been for the last 4 or 5 years, that when I pre-order something, it's got to be 2 years before I get it. And that is just the way the cookie crumbles. If I go into a pre-order knowing that it's going to take forever, I mean, literally KOTOR, bro, I got last year in 2023. I ordered that during the shutdown.
Yeah.
As someone who loves to be angry, and I do love to be angry at dumb shit like this, it can't be disingenuous. And when I saw this, my red flags immediately went off, and I was like, this doesn't read right. I'm like, these guys are not burning fucking CDs in their basement, for Christ's sake. And the way that it was framed of just like, the best part, they won't even work on real hardware because they're burning them to CDR. It feels bad to defend a company like this, but
Well, you don't have to defend them. Like, you can say, hey, the things that are being purported are wrong, but also they did fuck up. So you could be like, hey, before you take people's money, maybe you should be sure that the product you're selling is actually going to work with the devices that you're selling it for. Or are you actually just selling a product that you expect people to put on their shelf and never open? Like, is that really the end goal for the market that you're trying to, provide products for? That's what it feels like a lot of times. And they probably, if nobody ever complained about it, would they say, actually, oopsie, we did a fucky wucky, and you need to send those back because they're not actually, real discs that work on original hardware all the time. No, they would just let sleeping dogs lie. So I'm not gonna excuse the corporation that benefits from everybody else's money.
That's fair. I know this is not quite one for one, but I've supported a lot of indie creators who do DVD and Blu-ray releases, and sometimes what they have pressed won't be compatible with all manner of disc-based media players. And that is just a product of, well, there are a lot of reasons. I mean, you can buy officially licensed you can buy a Paramount Blu-ray that won't fucking read on PlayStation, and it's just, there's so many disc readers out there and so many years of iteration in the technology and the way these lasers are reading discs that you can't guarantee compatibility. You'd think it'd be easier with 3DO. There aren't, 30 years of 3DO machines being manufactured you have to test against.
But also it's older and potentially bespoke technologies that aren't compatible anymore. But if they're the ones selling the product and they say it's going to be compatible, that's on them.
It is.
To make sure it is, you know? And I'm not going to, this isn't some indie outfit that's operating out of a garage somewhere. This is Limited Run Games, which is owned by the same company that owns Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other shit. They have money and they're taking our money. So yeah, I'm fine with dunking on them and being pissy about it.
And good for them for offering a refund for a change, but where's my fucking refund for the KOTOR 2 drive-by that you committed upon me? I would not have given you the 40, 50, whatever the fuck number of dollars I gave you if you had honestly advertised what this product was actually going to be. So
Right.
where's my fucking refund for that? Here's the how and why of why that got fucked from you and Aspire, because presumably you were in communication with them and said, great, we believe you, which meant that they would have had to show you something that indicated that that was going to get done. And if they didn't, then why did you do it anyway and advertise it as such? So great, you got caught.
And that's where it turns into one of those things where it's like, well, we can't be mad at Limited Run because they aren't the developers of the game. We can't be mad at Aspire because they're not the owners of the IP. And we can't be mad at Disney because they're not the ones who made the game. So, oops, you can't be mad at anyone. It's nobody's fault. You're just
I can
fucked.
be mad at all of them, and I will. And I am.
That was this week's internet rage. At least until 2 days ago, at the time of this recording, when Helldivers 2 received over 14,000 negative reviews on Steam due to the sudden requirement to have a PSN account, even if you were on PC playing through Steam.
Oh, no. way.
PSN, the thing that's not available in every country.
That is one consideration, and has subsequently caused Helldivers to be delisted from several international stores, which is a problem.
Yeah, and accounts got banned over it too. Like South Korean and Chinese players got banned from the game because they were trying to operate outside of because they can't access PSN. So they're like, oh, well, we'll try to do like a proxy login so I can access this game that I paid money for. And no, just banned.
My first reaction to this news was like, who fucking cares? Every game I play online requires some bullshit account that I have to go. It's annoying, but it is what it is. For it to have tanked in the review department, and for the CEO of this company, or is it the CEO, or is it the head dev, or I don't know. He comes out and he is like, I'm just trying to make a good game here. This fucking sucks. I'm sorry. We have no control over this. And I was just kind of like, man, that many people are upset about it that they're going to go and like change their Steam review. It's like so fucking dumb. Just play the game, you fucking piss ants. It pisses me off. But then you started seeing all these things like we just mentioned, the availability of PSN in other countries and the auto bans happening. And then suddenly it's like, okay, this is just a fucking shit show. And you really just have to look at it and say, Sony, why?
It's the Apple thing that they want to bully you into having no choice but to be in their infrastructure. That's entirely it. Is Sony is like, we want you in our infrastructure. We want those numbers that we could point to, even if you don't own a PlayStation. And then maybe we could send you some ads, and maybe we could convince you to buy a PlayStation. Maybe we could be in your inbox more. Maybe we could contact you more. Maybe we could try and sell you more shit. It's just capitalism all the fucking way down, because of course it is. But it's gross. Like, why the fuck do I need a PSN login to play a game that I bought on a computer? That is dumb and bad. It's the same thing as, not quite the same thing, but on PlayStation, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown requires you to be logged into Ubisoft Connect. You do not have to do that on Nintendo Switch for reasons that I do not personally understand, but on PlayStation, you have to be logged into Ubisoft Connect at all times to play that game. It's stupid. I don't want to use your proprietary fan club login. Like, you can't get the metrics you need just by other metadata coming in, like from the different platforms that you publish this game on. Like, I don't get it. You don't need me.
It is silly. Similar thing happened this week. Sea of Thieves drops on PlayStation. You need both a Microsoft Xbox account to log in with and a subscription to the paid PSN service in order to play online. And if you don't have both of those things, then the game you just spent $40 on is a digital paperweight. You can't open it.
Is that out this week?
Last week, yeah, it's out. It's officially out.
You didn't tell me. Why? We could have been sailing the high seas, brother.
You only just beat Dark Souls today.
And you broke your hand.
I haven't bought it yet. I texted Brandon about it yesterday, and he was like, I'm busy. And I texted Brendan, and he's like, I'm not ready to play it. And I'm like, I just want to play.
Chris will be playing Sea of Thieves with a hook hand.
I am so piratical now.
I said I'm free tomorrow night. We can do it tomorrow night.
Yeah, but fuck these companies for making us log into two different things.
I know that's going to be a nightmare. Thanks for warning me. Oh God.
The login thing for Sea of Thieves makes a little bit more sense because it's all crossplay and it's not like a competitive game. So like the more players, literally the better. Like you don't want to have empty servers in a game like that. And then having to play for PS Plus is PlayStation saying, hey, you paid money for this game, so you have to pay for our online if you want our online. If Sea of Thieves was free to play, which I thought it was, but I guess I was just conflating it with Xbox Game Pass. But if it was free to play, then you would not need PS Plus, because you don't need PS Plus for free to play online games like Fortnite, for example, unless you work out a weird backdoor way to do it, like Square Enix did with Sony, so that you can play FF14 without a subscription, because you have to subscribe to that game as well. And nobody actually wanted to do that on PS3 back when that came out, so they sort of are grandfathered in with their own secret little shady backdoor deal.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. It's somewhere in the middle. Like, there are serious issues with Sony, like, just doing this, and it's frustrating that, you know, in the wake of the server issues and the launch drama that this game had, you know, but now I'm seeing headlines. It's like, Helldivers 2 just ruined the most promising game in years over like an account login requirement. And it's like, oh, this is just so dramatic, guys. Like,
Oh yeah. Well, you're always going to have clickbait like that, but beneath that is always like a grain of truth. Like, yeah, this does suck, and there are reasons for people to be legitimately mad about it. And then there's small reasons for people to be like kind of pissy about it. But this kind of thing happens like all the time, like you just said. It makes me think of when any of these competitive multiplayer games add a new version of anti-cheat, because the cheaters are getting out of control. EJ, I'm sure you can attest to that with your copious hours of Warzone. But when, you know, these companies drop their anti-cheat and suddenly your computer is getting stuck in boot loops where you're blue screening every time it turns on, yeah, you're going to be pissed about that too. Like, the solutions can be just as bad as the problems sometimes.
And I don't want to ever default to siding with the billion-dollar corporation. So,
or the whiny piss ants on the internet. Like, there's a common ground. Like, we can be mad at both of them.
I can occasionally be a whiny pissant on the internet. I will never be a billion-dollar corporation. So it's
not with that attitude.
Just lace up your bootstraps.
My bootstraps.
That's the Helldivers drama this week. Brandon, this is for you.
The never-ending betrayal of Sony.
Hashtag freestellarblade. Free it. Unshackle it.
Sony, how could you?
Okay.
I hate people who play video games so desperately sometimes.
I hate people who like anything resembling anime, whether it be actual anime, manga, or video games.
You're the biggest anime fan I know.
I know, and I hate them so much. The burning passion.
This is funny for a number of reasons, but Mark Kern, a known commodity in the industry,
certified tool,
ex Blizzard employee. I think it's 1995 to 2005. He was associate producer on StarCraft, and then he was lead producer on Diablo 2, and then he was team lead for World of Warcraft. So quite the prestigious background there.
Blizzard, not known for its quality alumni, though.
True.
There were some allegations about some misappropriated funds.
Quite a firestorm, you could say.
You said certified tool. He's one of these guys who goes on Twitter and complains about how, you know, like, forced diversity is, you know, they're ruining our video games by putting black people and women and whatever. Total fucking dick. So he starts a petition. I just want to read this, okay? I want to read this before I kick it to Brandon to rant, and we'll round robin this here.
There are videos, too, in that petition, just so you know. Like testimonial videos.
They're pretty sad.
No longer any videos.
They probably got taken down because they were exactly as bad as you would imagine.
They're very depressing.
Here's what Mark Kern, who started a petition that now has 80,000 signatures, by the way. Stellar Blade's a phenomenal new game that just launched on PlayStation 5 worldwide, but it has a problem. The content has been censored from the original trailer version posted by Sony. We as gamers want this content back. We relied on it. Okay, hold on. We relied on it. We made the game the #1 pre-order worldwide because of it, and this is the true game we want. Stellar Blade is more than a game. It has become a cultural beacon for freedom of expression at a time where game publishers like Sony are censoring games more than ever. Stellar Blade was a breath of fresh air, and Gamer rallied behind it, and gamers, that's what he's meant to say.
No, gamer. Leave it as gamer.
And gamer
rallied behind it.
Gamer rallied behind it because it meant things were changing, getting better, and the voice of creative freedom was ringing loud and clear. but for reasons unknown, the game was censored. Changes were made. What we received after our good faith purchase was not the same as advertised. Okay, so he goes on to say some other shit. Spread this petition on social media with the hashtag freestellarblade hashtag, blah, blah, blah. And then he puts this in Korean and Japanese and fucking French and Spanish, and this is embarrassing. What were the videos?
I only saw a few, but it was mostly just pathetic guys videotaping themselves saying like the same thing that you basically just said, saying like, we relied on Stellar Blade. We needed this to be the true artistic vision. You're censoring the creator's intent. And it's just these coomers just needing some jiggly bits to be slightly more revealed than they were in the final trailer, the final release.
There's one I got to talk about. There's one guy who was like, you got the game industry. You got games like Baldur's Gate where you got like bear sex and you got goth girls. And so you got the woke mind virus, but you can't have heterosexual, sexy Korean titties. Like, ugh.
Jesus Christ.
Because goth girls and bear sex and, it was bear sex, gay sex, and goth girls. The woke mind virus.
The woke agenda.
That sounds like a hell of a good time.
Strictly sex negative.
So there's like, that I could find, there's three things. There's two outfits. One was like a full body swimsuit that had like heavy cleavage, and then all they did was they added like a mesh bra over it, and then another one was like another one-piece suit that they added like fishnet stockings, which honestly made it kind of sexier. And they're all like, we can't see naked skin but like there's significantly like sexier, quote unquote, because everybody has different tastes, but like more revealing and sexier outfits in the games than either of those. The only other thing that's somewhat...
It's the principle, Brandon! The principle of the matter!
Yeah, I know, right? The two outfits that were only mildly sexy are now just kind of plain. There's a scene where in the demo where she like cuts through like a monster and you can see like the blood all across her body and everything. And then in the actual game, they removed all the blood from her body. And what I'm assuming probably happened with that, because the developer said that they're the ones who actually chose to remove this, not Sony censoring, is that I'm assuming it was that one scene with that one monster, but it was really hard to reproduce that multiple times. And because they did it once, there's like, maybe let's not keep this thing that's cool once and then go through the whole game of never seeing it again. Or just something like that. Like it's something probably easily explained away that like, hey, we had this really cool idea and we did it for the trailer, but then when we tried to finish the game, we couldn't replicate it throughout the whole game, or it messed up the system. So we need to remove it. But also anime titties!
What you just said is, I think, the most interesting part of all of this. Well, none of it's particularly interesting. It's just sad. But the fact that this was a developer choice included in a patch that contained a ton of other stuff to just generally make the game better. But everybody's grabbed onto this as evidence, of Sony's wokeism, and that they're trying to, push this agenda and push back on, freedom of expression, which, Jesus Christ. And the devs for their part are like, I don't know what to tell you. Like what do you want? What do you want from us? But no, it's Sony's fault. It has to be Sony's fault because the developer would never do this of their own volition. Has to have been mandated from the top down. I decided people just want to be mad. I don't know. Conservative men especially just want to be mad because God knows the people that are pre-ordering Stellar Blade are probably not going out on a Friday night in the company of someone of their gender identity of choice, shall we say, and feel that it's everybody else's fucking fault and that it's repression's fault and it's censorship's fault instead of their own fault for being fucking incel turds who don't know how to talk to another human being.
And unlikable.
Yeah, it's always like a domino effect. This is after several months of kind of hits, as we say, to the folks that are fighting the woke mind virus, as it were. Had the whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing where they're trying to get mad about people having diversity opinions to help AAA development and what that actually means from the developer's point of view and from the publisher's point of view, and who's actually incorporating these things and for what reasons. And then you always have like the evergreen topic of localization, and that kind of popped up again with Unicorn Overlord and probably some other Japanese games coming out recently, and the way those games are translated and then localized, because those are two different things, and they're always going to be mad about something not original intent. So it's just like the hits keep coming, and then Stellar Blade was like kind of the peak where they're like, this is the game that we choose to lift up, even though the thing that they were mad about is like, oh, these game reviewers and the games media isn't give this game a fair shot. Like they're gonna all be mad about it because it's got a woman on it, and it's got a really positive reviews. All these reviews that they're making, these ghosts that they're fighting in their head are not real, so they have to pick something else to be mad about because they always have to be mad about something. They have to be fighting something that's like their goal in life is to be a warrior, taking down the oppression of the shaking boobs in the video game.
Yeah.
May I also add that the same gentleman who started this petition under the guise of freedom of expression and a multitude of viewpoints and letting the devs express whatever they need to express, tell the story they want to tell, have the scantily clad women that they want to have, also took every opportunity to shit all over Tales of Kenzera as an example of the woke agenda, despite the fact that it is one dude who really wanted to tell a story about grieving his dead father in the medium of games that he loves so much. We can't have that. We can't have that expression. That expression is not worthwhile.
Because that's about a black guy.
Yeah.
Don't you see? There is no mask. You're not revealing anything. Like it's whole mask off.
It's the woke mind virus, because it's not like he went to multiple studios and they're like, nah, we're not super interested in this. So in order to make it a reality, he had to kind of get his own team together to make it. Everybody's just so woke. They're like, oh man, a black guy wants to speak, so we're going to buy into the game.
Yeah, so fuck this guy, sincerely, is just absolute pond scum.
No, yeah, he's a pathetic fringe loser, and he's never going to get the kind of money that he actually wants to make a game. So he's also typical. He's got like his own Kickstarter run game that he's been like milking all these chuds for everything they're worth. So he'll perpetually live off of them until he dies like a parasite at the bottom of a lake.
Smells like a grift, baby, all day long.
Big grift.
They just want Gamergate too. They want to hate women while looking at sexy video game women because they want to pork it because they can't get real women.
Yeah, well, and that was also very lucrative for them too. So who knows? This guy might not actually be mad, but he knows how to get money out of idiots. So good for him, I guess.
I don't know. I feel like you see the top level grifts, especially with like right-wing conservative lunkheads, and you're like, oh, all you have to do is say some like racist or sexist shit, and all the chuds of the Twitter world will come running. But like, it only works at the top level. And I think in real life, what you see is that you're gonna attract more bees with honey, as the saying goes, despite being scientifically inaccurate. You know what I mean? I feel like, brother, if you're just a normal dude who treats people well, you're gonna achieve the things you want to achieve, but you're more concerned with the free dopamine from getting the likes on Twitter for saying this inflammatory bullshit. Meanwhile, you're spinning your wheels, toiling away, incapable of making the thing you want to make because everyone is like, oh, you're a fucking chud. But hey, the incels are retweeting your shit, so you're doing well, pal.
Well, it's like you said earlier, social media has poisoned us all, and some people even more so because they get so addicted to reactions. And by being like annoying and bad and bigoted and stupid and horrible, you get a lot of reactions. And if you can do it in like a slightly veiled way that doesn't make you like truly just a villain, but people like want to defend you and then they get arguing in your mentions, that's just giving him those numbers are going up, baby. He's getting that dopamine hit. That's the only way he's getting out of bed in the morning is by saying aggravating bullshit. So yeah, it's poisonous. It's truly poisonous.
Sad. Hashtag freestellarblade, baby. This is our new console crusade.
We rely on it.
We rely on it. For what?
This is all I have.
Sexual release? Like, what are you relying on, you fucking weirdo?
Sony, give me the game for free. Free Stellar Blade.
I might play it at the cost of $0.
Near a tomato.
That's
Holy
that's our
shit.
news this week. That's fun. That's good. That's
You want to do a thought experiment?
I think we should do that. I
I
think
love thought
Brandon.
experiments.
Yeah, we'll save your top 10, brother, for we'll come in hot another day. So the impetus for having Brandon on this week is that his wonderful wife bought him a new mic for their anniversary.
Hell yeah.
And he sounds great.
She also like redid my whole game room in here, and it looks amazing. I've got, you can't really see it, but I've got a light up Majora's Mask that's above this little display I have. I mean, audio listeners, so they can't really see, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I got a bunch of cool like light up stuff. She got me some new shelves for my figures, and it's looking real nice in here. She did a wonderful job.
Got a lovely Monstera and a little cat platform. Everyone's happy.
Brandon is, for once, comfortably sitting. We can see him. His mic is in front of him without having to be in his hands. This is a real fucking setup. So
We've upgraded.
Emmy, thank you so much.
So it doesn't look like he's doing stand up in the 80s.
Yeah,
Shout out to
right?
Emmy. or new gen YouTubers.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So Brandon's here. He sounds crispy, and we're locked in. But we'll save the top 10, which we do want to have you on for, because we've done our top 10s. And I joked yesterday, we were talking, and we were putting money on what we thought. What your not real money. We were just postulating what your favorite game of all time might be.
Oh, well, we can at least do that. I mean, I think I already told you, so that's cheating. But like, I want to hear them. Like throw them out, and then we'll figure it out next time.
Bahamut Lagoon.
Bahamut Lagoon. All right, sweet.
Batman Forever on the Sega Genesis.
Home Improvement on Super Nintendo.
You guys got my top 2, 3, and 4.
It's the unofficial English patch of Terranigma on the Super Nintendo.
Final Fantasy V on Game Boy Advance.
Hey,
one
hey,
hit
hey,
six.
hey. That game fucks.
Yeah, I know. I love that game.
Oh
Anyway,
my god.
there's a little teaser. Brandon, I think that'll be fun.
Gotcha Force.
Here's a spoiler. Gotcha Force, while it fucks, did not make the list.
Wow.
Oh.
That raises that Metacritic average by a whole 20 points right there.
Justice for Gotcha Force.
It will be fun to
For
do our
real.
Metacritic averages of the top 10s that we all listed last time. Unless you've already done it, Nick, in which case, spill the tea.
No, I have not.
Okay, well that
But I
could
could.
be fun. That could be fun. So I was just Nick, partially inspired by your desire to see FromSoft do a Metroid game. I was and chatting with Nate, as I am wont to do. Just had some fun thought experiments that I thought would just be a cool way to talk about some games and talk about some studios and just get some dialogue going. I sent these over to these two already, Brandon, so I'll probably have them talk before so that you can have a chance to think about some stuff. But I do want to run. I want to run first with the same thing, Nick, that you had done there with your FromSoft Metroid. So, which outside studio would you most like to pair with a Nintendo IP to make a brand new game? So it's a Nintendo IP designed by an outside studio for a new, not a remake, a new entry in that series.
I already have my first one. If you guys want to think for a little bit.
Yes, please.
Obviously, I already mentioned FromSoft Metroid. Don't need to go down that path again.
Right.
But I think for an IP that its games are well liked, but very niche, and for a character that is well liked in a franchise that doesn't represent the games at all, I think an F-Zero game made by Ryuga Gotoku, the makers of the Yakuza series, would be perfect. I want a wandering around, beating people up as Captain Falcon game, interspersed with racing throughout Mute City and being a bounty hunter badass. Actually, we got that in a few of the animated series, kind of watered down for children, but we get so much character from Super Smash Brothers. I think you could probably involve Sakurai. He could executive produce or something, be yeah. Because at this point, Captain Falcon is just a meme lord guy who Falcon punches, Falcon kick. Come on, show your boobs. This man is not represented by the video game series he's from. He's high action, fast speed racing is great and all, but that cannot be the only thing that game does. So the Yakuza games had this huge resurgence, and now they are completely diverted and divested of brawler, and they're more like RPGs. So get them to do the action brawler around the city. Like, they have such good vibes and like kitschy, over the top, melodramatic storytelling. But put Captain Falcon in it. Like, just take out, the main homies from that game. Just put copy paste Captain Falcon in that game. Ships 3 million, easy.
That sounds like it fucked so hard.
That's a really good answer, dude.
That man, F00.
You can't top
absolute
that.
zero.
Oh, that is
Absolute zero.
Nick wins. I know this isn't a competition, but Nick wins. That oof.
He already won with FromSoft Metroid because Jesus Christ, that game would be
Nintendo
so
signed the check.
cool.
I understand why you two might like that, but I feel like the world of Metroid, we've already talked about it. Like, if Housemarque were to do like a roguelite bullet hell game with Samus instead of like nondescript spaceman, like,
So Returnal, but copy paste Samus
exactly.
instead.
Yeah, we've gone down that rabbit hole before. I don't know. Like, I've thought about this, and my first thought was, I want Naughty Dog to do something. I want a Nintendo game or property to have like a properly fleshed out story with lifelike characters, real pathos, not just like the top down surface, like, oh yeah, the characters in Fire Emblem were good, and you're just looking at fucking 2D models the entire game. Like, okay, like that can be fine. I don't know what character. Like, I my brain could not connect the dots.
Do it with Zelda.
See, I know, because this is the problem with all of Nintendo's titular characters. None of them speak. None of them have character.
Hit!
But at the same time, like, this is a new company. They can do whatever they want with it. Like, this is a thought experiment. And so it's all like, what do you want to see? Do you want to see Link
Pokemon
talking?
made by Naughty Dog. The harsh realities of the slavery between these different species and the dogfighting sort of correlations.
No, come on.
And don't give it to Naughty Dog then.
But I was thinking like CD Projekt Red and a Fire Emblem game.
That'd
Move
be so
away.
fucking cool.
I love tactics RPGs. They're my favorite. Fire Emblem is my favorite game series, and so I love them to death. But just to get like that dark lore, long drawn out RPG, you focus in on one character. Fire Emblem stories are kind of, I mean, there's not a lot to them, but there's a lot going on around them to where you can add so much more to them and make them so much deeper and so much darker. And
Just imagine like Path of Radiance done by CD Projekt Red, like that story and that like that area and those characters. But like, you are Ike. They would end up making Ike like the dude from Berserk. Like, it would be so, he'd be such a badass, but also tragic and sad.
It'd be so good. Oh, now just thinking about it more, like, now I'm getting hyped for something that'll never be. Like, it just seems like a good idea to just hand CD Projekt Red the Fire Emblem IP, and just whether they create a whole. Well, actually, like Chris said, you just, it's not remakes of any of them. They create a whole new world, but they can use other Fire Emblems to kind of base off, and they would put in like little lore touches of other Fire Emblems, which would be cool to run into and see here and there.
That's a good shout. My first one that I feel best about is I want Respawn to make a fucking Star Fox game. Like, they, in the little bit of Titanfall that I've played, seem to have figured out how to make both vehicular and pilot mobility combat traversal work really well. And I don't think that that's a balance that's been struck at any Star Fox game, where you're getting like really frenetic vehicle-based combat, and then you pop out and you're really on the ground, like busting around corners, running on walls, jetpacking around and shooting things. I think that'd be fucking sweet. Sweet, because you could get both the multiplayer experience that was a big part of why I liked Star Fox 64 as a kid, getting in that 4-player arena, doing U-turns and flipping around and trying to get behind people and shoot them. But you give me like an arena, like a Titanfall arena, where I could be jetting around in an R-Wing or down with the Land Rover, the Landmaster tank, but I could also pop out and flip around. And if my ship gets destroyed, like we go to, person-to-person combat. I think that could be really, really cool. and would give, I think, a more concrete direction to Star Fox that's just been kind of rudderless of like, oh, we're going to kind of just keep remaking the original Star Fox because it worked for Star Fox 64. And they've abandoned the whole that worked so well in Assault or Adventures, whichever one is not bad.
Oh, I was going to say, they kind of ruined that concept by doing it so badly in Assault. The on-ground stuff was terrible.
Redeem it.
Everything else was also pretty good in Assault. So it's like, yeah, they poisoned the well already. But yes, they should redeem it. I think that Respawn is a great pick for something like that. I wonder if they could like capture that fast sort of gameplay in a third person, because I don't think of fast when I think of Jedi. And that's been, I think, their only third person game that they've done. So it's like my only sort of comparison. But if they could do the fast movement of Titanfall, but third person, because I don't really see a first person Star Fox. Like, you want the third person because you want to see the character, and the character's iconic because of Smash Bros. And like the little vignettes and little blah, 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 talking scenes and Star Fox SNES and on N64. So, but yeah, that sounds really fucking tight.
I know they're dead now. We can't resurrect them in this imaginary.
Yes, you can. You have the power.
I want Vicarious Visions to make a Nintendo skating game. Imagine Smash Bros. Meets Tony Hawk. Just colorful as hell. All the Nintendo characters. Just imagine all the wacky special moves.
That's so funny that you said that, because I just was reading today in the last couple of weeks that plans for Did You Know Gaming did a whole deep dive on the Vicarious Visions Donkey Kong game that never ended up coming to fruition on Switch. And I'm like, damn, that sounds like it would have been pretty cool.
Dude, I'm here for it. I would have so much. Dude, I'd spend hours. Have Kirby do like flips in the air, suck in the skateboard, and then it just kind of pops right back out of him, and he grabs it and does a Christ air, because we all know Christ air is the best move.
Yes, of course. I was just gonna say Luigi doing a Christ air, but you just did Kirby instead. It's the most iconic skate move in the land.
Samus with just the helmet and then like a shirt and ripped jeans and shoes, but just the fucking helmet on her head. Like,
I'm telling you, man, the possibilities are limitless. And I'm not kidding when I say there are two things I want in video games. My only two wishes. One is for any company, anybody else to make a Pokemon game, which probably won't ever happen. And B, I want a new Tony Hawk game. Not a Skate 5. I want a game where we are not bound to reality. The physics do not have to be one for one. I do not want to play a skate sim. I want a completely ridiculous arcade goofball of a time.
Platformer.
Essentially. Now, just do that with Nintendo characters.
I want a new Tony Hawk Underground with an arcade mode. Like, I think that's like the best of both worlds. You have the story mode if you want, but then you have arcade where you can be all those. You can be Tony Hawk Christ airing, even though it was Geoff Rowley who was special move was the Christ air.
Geoff.
Jeff Rowley. As a kid, that's what I always called him. I was like,
from Bam Margera.
Yeah, I need Bevo to.
I need to bail Bam out of jail after his third DUI.
Oh no!
I got another one. I want to see Atlas make a Mother game. With
that sounds
all of
terrible.
them, all of them as teenage. I knew you were going to hate this. As soon as I thought it was like,
that sounds really bad.
I would enjoy seeing like all the sort of like psychological underpinnings are a little, they're not like top level. Like we know they're there obviously as adults and things like Earthbound, at least in my time with it. I don't know. I think there's a certain kookiness that would at least be kind of analogous. But it'd be fun to be like, what is Ness at like 16 years old? Like with all of the stuff that he is experiencing and thinking about and his relationships.
That sounds terrible to me, but also the platonic ideal for a remake / revisiting of the Earthbound series would be to let the dude who did Undertale do it. And that also sounds pretty terrible to me. So really, I don't want them to continue that series whatsoever without the original creator. So unless he is like literally the only one working on it and like he's just telling people what to do, I don't really want to see that series come back in any way.
Like I see it there, but at the same time, like with Atlas, with those kind of games, like they try to be darker and deeper than like and it just kind of gets all muddied and watered, and it seems like a bunch of like teenage edgelords where it's all like Mother meant something, and like it still has like you can play them and look back on that era and be like, man, that just fits in so well.
Yeah, like I don't think the Atlas games are corny enough. I think they are edgy, like you said, and there is some quirk to them. There's humor, but they're not like sincerely corny and like goofy like Earthbound and Mother 3 is. I don't know. I detest that idea, but Chris, if you want that, I want that for you.
EJ, you got something?
What if Insomniac made a Splatoon game?
That'd be tight.
Think Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive.
Just great traversal, wacky weapons.
Bad ending.
I still have PTSD from my time beating Sunset Overdrive, which is a game that why the fuck has it not come to PlayStation yet? Well, just do it. Do it. You own it. Just do it.
Yeah, so they can sell 50,000 copies and just rub Insomniac's nose in their failure. They've got bigger fish to fry, dude. They could just do anything else and make them 10 times more money.
They don't need to literally do anything to that game to re-release it on PlayStation. Holy shit, just put it out. It'll sell 4 times as many copies as it did on Xbox.
Okay, so 40,000 copies.
Just put it out. Just give it to it. It's a good game. It deserves its time in the sun.
They had its time in the sunset, brother.
Microsoft's been in a blender for over a decade. They've been trash. You're trash, Brock. They haven't sold shit dick for consoles. Okay? And it was a console exclusive. It didn't come to PC for like 6 years or something. Come on. They would make a sick-ass Splatoon game.
My last pick. I'm a little bit sad you already said Star Fox, but I do think Star Fox is ripe for a revival. And my pitch for it is to put Hapu Games on it, the Risk of Rain devs, and do a Star Fox roguelike. Let me fly through these systems in a procedurally generated manner, get crazy OP and weird, and mix in like the roguelite elements that makes it so addictive to like replay. Let me cruise through with EJ, and we're each getting crazy overpowered in our own individual runs. Or let us like go to different planets, like, oh, I'm over at Sector Z, and EJ is facing against Andros because he wants to Zerg Rush to do another loop faster. And yeah, that sounds stupid and fun. And Star Fox it's very shallow in its like rail shooter genre tropes. So like take that shallowness and make that its strength. Like if you think about a game like Hades or Risk of Rain or Rogue Legacy or Dead Cells, like the gameplay is very shallow, but it is infinitely replayable because of all the different modifiers and accessories and weapon types that you throw into it. So that becomes the fun, is experiencing all these different builds, and the random nature of it means, oh, you don't get to choose to do your ideal build every time, but you got to make do with what you do get. And I think that would be a fun sort of twist to put on a rail shooter, because otherwise it's just like, once you play through Star Fox 64, the fun is replaying it and going through different routes. And Star Fox 64, as we've discussed, is the best ideal version of Star Fox, and they've been chasing that high ever since. So let me do runs, but let it be more random, and like just like really spin it out into something really ridiculous and crazy.
I tried to find an IP that I thought Hapu would be good at. I was looking specifically, trying to come up with a roguelike that wasn't just like Dead Cells or, you know, some other 2D. Like, that's really good. You guys nailed this. All these games sound better than anything Nintendo does. I would like Bethesda to make a Legend of Zelda game.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm sitting over here trying to find something for Bethesda to do. I'm just like, no, please don't touch that. No, don't touch that. Don't touch that.
It would have to be that, and I don't think any of us would love it.
Bethesda Star Fox, Starfield Fox.
So I just platinum Skyrim, and we're gonna hold off on any more of that conversation for a little while. But breaking down that experience this week, Bethesda was able to do so much with so little, and the world that they made, I don't know if there's a world that has been as well crafted and as granular as something like Skyrim. So even though that's the case, Bethesda wasn't able to come in and do it with Fallout 4 or Starfield. None of their contemporaries have been able to do it.
Dude, I've been playing Fallout 4. I didn't realize, I mean, I enjoyed it when I played it. I have so much more appreciation for it. It is such a great game. It is unbelievable. the kind of the lived in and the world lore that exists there. They did a great job with Fallout 4. Starfield, I won't defend that one. I'll walk away at that point, but I will defend Fallout 4 all day long. It's much better than people gave it credit for when it first came out.
It is very properly rated. It did exactly probably how it should have done at the time. I know Fallout's getting a whole new swing because of the show, which by all accounts is pretty decent. We're no longer talking about the video game curse anymore. It's like they're actually making solid properties.
Till Borderlands comes out, then we'll be talking about it again.
People are gonna like Borderlands. It's gonna be just a solid 6.5. People are gonna like it.
Oh no.
I see Borderlands hitting the same way Twisted Metal hit, which is like, wow, that was not as terrible as I expected.
I don't know. That first trailer is almost unwatchable to me.
People like the Jumanji movie? I don't know, man.
Yeah,
So
it was kind of funny, to be honest.
If you showed my 15-year-old brother the trailer to
Well, he's the audience, but that doesn't mean it's good, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to be as a
No, it's
community
the children who are wrong.
talking about this again, like shitting out more schlocky video game crap because they have an opportunity to take advantage of the moment. No one talks about the Uncharted movie because it was fucking awful. Same fucking producer.
It's clearly got the budget. It's clearly well produced. It just sounds like it's going to have a really bad fucking script, which, you know, can
Just like Borderlands.
derail the exactly. It
In
can derail
keeping.
the.
But
Thank you,
without
Randy.
the fun of Borderlands and how gory and gross and weird it is, like they're just trying to fucking do Guardians of the Galaxy and reskin it in
Well,
Gearbox IP because they think they can make a buck in
That's
this
how
moment.
movie studios make money.
Oh, it's awful.
I don't think Borderlands would ever translate well to a TV show or a movie because it's just fucking edgy cringelord bullshit. Just like how I think the Deadpool movies are like solidly mid, because translating that into a real medium where you have a real person saying these things, I just have secondhand embarrassment most of the time. And it can have its great moments and the stylized action is really cool, but at the end of the day, it's just not something that adapts to real life as well as anyone ever wants it to. And so it's just going to be fine. That's exactly it. Anyway, I had a point I was going somewhere with. Bethesda can't even make Bethesda games anymore. None of their contemporaries have been able to fucking do what they did with their early Elder Scrolls and Fallout titles. So I don't know. I would not want to give a known quantity to Bethesda at this point and say, hey, go do this. And I wouldn't want to give it to, you know, any number of other companies making big action RPGs and say, hey, go make a Bethesda game. Because I just think it is very much a time and place kind of thing.
But at the same time, Bethesda, the only non-Bethesda game they've made is Starfield, because their last game before that was Fallout 4, because 76 is ZeniMax and not them. So it's like they had one game that says, oh, what's going wrong? Like, are we going to use one thing as a qualifier that they don't know what they're doing anymore? Or maybe they had an idea. Maybe they do better with, I mean, I know they made Elder Scrolls, but they do better with pre-existing stories that they build off of. And then Starfield was a whole new world, and they're just all like, we don't know what to do. We took a shot and we missed. And maybe when they go back to the next Fallout game or the next Elder Scrolls game, that it'll be like, oh,
20 years
Bethesda
removed from their last masterpiece, 2 decades.
I mean, I know it's going to be a long time, but I'm just saying.
People were born after Skyrim and are now procreating themselves. Like, does it matter at that point? What's the conversation? There are hundreds of companies trying to make games. What do we care about Bethesda 20 years after the last time they did anything noteworthy? I just don't understand what. Anyway, this is a complete tangent.
Yeah, that's like a modern AAA problem at that point. You're talking about Naughty Dog making one game for the last generation, and they're going to miss the PS5 altogether.
That's fucking crazy. That's
probably will.
crazy.
Too much money. The scope's way too big. I'm glad that Square Enix seems like they're the first AAA to right the ship at any cost and go, we are paring down. We are refocusing.
We'll see what they say in their earnings report, because it seems very likely that they're going to be like, well, we're going to have to adjust the ship because Rebirth sold like crap and we put a lot of money into that. So the third version is going to have to be a chopped down budget version, or they're going to cancel everything else in favor of just relying on this.
We're going
one
to
thing.
4 games, brother.
That is already what they did. They canceled a ton of shit like a week and a half ago.
Yeah. So no Tactics, no FF9 remake. Sorry, Chris.
Oh,
Hey, look,
man.
I would rather have the third part of the 7 trilogy have the same loving care that the first 2 did, because they're both really fucking good games, and it sucks that this didn't sell as well. And I understand some of the logistic thoughts behind it, as well as just like generally a smaller install base on PS5, and it's not the pandemic, blah, 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 blah.
They could have just turned that into one really good long ass game.
No, I mean,
Probably not. No, it'd be bloated as fuck, and it would take them 30 years to make. But yeah, no, Square Enix is just going to be oops, all Nomura. And that is the kite that is sailing their giant ship. Let this one man be the deciding factor of the success of their future.
That really worked out for Konami and Kojima, didn't it?
Square Enix Pachinko in the next 5 years. Let's go.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's their fucking future. Nomura's going to go off and do his own thing and make some mid game that everyone jerks off to because they are more worried about the names attached than the actual quality of the work. It's totally going down the Kojima path, bro.
I think it's largely possible that Square Enix like boils up all their own goodwill, and then they end up getting bought by Sony. And I think that's a bad future, but it's the most likely future at this point. Capcom remains the only shining example of like true AAA royalty out of Japan. Bandai Namco being like more AA, like big AA, and then Koei Tecmo being like small AA.
Capcom, by the way, who was on the verge of going the way of Konami, and they somehow managed to resurrect from the ashes of their own mistakes.
They turned it around, man.
Yeah.
Big success story.
Yeah, great.
Like Lost Planet 4. Yeah, it got real weird for a bit there.
I would not be quick to proclaim the death of Square Enix, as all of you.
Long live
being.
Square Enix.
Writing's on the wall.
Again, it would be if they hadn't already recognized the need to switch and maybe not have so much stuff in development, because they can't just keep putting that much money in when they're developing for timed exclusives. So I think that's another part of it.
They recognize the need to cancel all of the interesting projects people wanted from them in order to double down on the game that just sold worse than any game they've done in the last 2 decades. That does not seem like a course correction to me.
We don't even know what projects they're canceling. I mean, you can make wild assumptions about, this, it's that, but that could have been like Octopath Traveler 3 or fucking, I don't know, Cubic Geometry or another stupid number noun title like Triangle Strategy.
Yeah, it's a lot of that, but it's also like Forspoken and Balan Wonderworld and like, a lot of weird, like unforced errors and strange decisions that they've made. Like, did they really think those games were going to succeed? At what point did they get into development? They're like, man, this looks like trash. Let's just put it out anyway. Sunk cost fallacy, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand how these things come to fruition.
I want to find BioWare is the studio in this like Nintendo IP conversation that I just desperately would love to be able to find a match for, because I just really, really love the American RPGs that they make, but they're so intensely narrative driven that I'm just like, who am I going to want to hear 80 hours of voice acting from in the Nintendo IP stable?
It would have to be like Fire Emblem or Xenoblade, like one of the RPG series.
I agree with Nick. That's the only thing I could think of when you said BioWare.
Or go full stupid and do like how they did that Sonic the Hedgehog RPG on the 3DS or whatever.
Please, dear God,
just do a Mario RPG done by BioWare.
Good Lord.
Paper Mario, but with fucking.
Have Chris Pratt voice Mario.
He's so cool.
I know. I'd be so love it.
For the record, we don't actually have all of the numbers, but Octopath Traveler 2 might have sold better than Rebirth so far.
That would make sense given the Switch has like what, 140 million unit install base. Like, of course it's going to. I know some companies are weird about reporting digital sales too. Like Nintendo doesn't talk about them at all, so we just have to guess.
Well, they do. They lump their total sales, and then you can. Sometimes they go a little bit more into detail with that. But yeah, I mean, most companies don't really draw the line there. They more talk about the dollars made than they do the units sold, or they talk about numbers of players, which gets weird because then is this on PS Plus? Is this on Game Pass? Was there a free trial that they're counting towards? Is this kind of the demo? So Octopath Traveler has 13 million players, but there was a free demo on the phone, I guess, at one point. You know, it's really fucking weird. It's all just to self-filate to make them look good to investors.
Yes.
Shareholders control the world.
Shareholders are hardly knowers.
Ooh.
So this has been the Console Crusade podcast. Brandon, thanks for joining us today, bud.
Oh,
We'll talk about
brother.
Lufia 2 next week or the week
Talk
after.
about Lunar.
Oh man, deep cut, deep secrets.
We'll talk about Breath of Fire 4 on a forthcoming episode.
Talk about Sword of Mana on Game Boy Advance, the remake of the first Mana game.
I think I joked that your favorite platformer was Spyro, Season of Ice on the Game Boy Advance.
Spyro's a good game.
No,
On Game Boy Advance.
Not those
on Game Boy
games.
Advance.
Chris, feel better, heal up in anticipation of your trip. Don't bring us germs.
I won't.
Don't make us sick. I told Nick
Don't
last
break
night
our hands.
I got sick 0 times in fucking 4 years, and now I've been sick 4 times in 4 months or whatever.
Sounds like you're the one who needs to buckle down and not bring anything to the house then.
But EJ's afraid of catching your broken hand germs. He doesn't want his hands to also break by getting germs from it.
Listen, Brandon, I'm gonna break your fucking hands if you keep trying me, pal.
I'd love to
these
see you
hands.
try. Because, yeah, you're going to get these hands.
Break him against his pelvis.
He fits the pipe, but now he's laying the lumber.
I love it.
So about this Dundee trip,
Dundee's nuts.
that's what I'm saying. Are we going to record a podcast?
If you want to set that up, EJ, then I will participate and provide my voice and witticisms. But if you do not want to set it up, I'm totally fine with that too. I would love to just big chill, play some Vigi games, eat some glizzies, and call that the weekend.
I think I'm with you there. I think. Because remember last time everyone had to bring laptops because we didn't have enough XLR mic. I mean, it's just a whole thing. It's just a whole thing.
If you don't want to do it, that is totally fine. But some of those things are not hugely an issue.
You'd have to bring your laptop and your mic.
That's not hard. I could do that. I I have the room for it. I travel very light most of the time, so I have space. I'm bringing my computer anyway because I'm going to probably do a little bit of writing.
Oh, some writing. You've been writing lately?
Yeah, I sat down and put 1,500 words into a Dark Souls look back this morning.
Ah, more will be revealed.
You asked. I wasn't going to say what, but
He's setting up future episodes, keeping the audience interested.
All my writing has just been erotic fan fiction, so
I've been writing Stellar Blade fanfiction, trying to fill the gaps. #freestellarblade.
I rely on you, EJ.